We're back. Welcome into the 42nd Annual Oktoberfest Racing Preview here on KQEG TV, Seven Rivers Racing. I'm Dan Dyker along with Al Losi, our special guest from Starmaker Multimedia, Dale Danielski. And he's the one that's put this whole program together. We had a history show earlier this year, and we're back to give you all the highlights of Oktoberfest of 2011, the 42nd Annual. Dale, let's jump right back into it. We've had some fantastic footage so far. We started with dirt, and we got up to 1971. We're going to start things off with 1972, and a lot of familiar names start surfacing right around that era.
Yeah, actually, there were a number of multi-winners of the fest, and 1972 began the year of the most prolific, actually. Joe Shear won the 1972 race, the late Joe Shear. He passed away sometime in the 90s, but that's the footage we're seeing here, and that was Joe's first win. He went on to win 5 of these. Unprecedented. Wow. Nobody has ever done that.
Bullseye in your back. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think had he not lost his life due to cancer, he probably had a couple more wins in him. You know, he was still racing right up to the end, and but yeah, that was the year he won. And then we've evolved into 1973. We've got some of that footage here as well. And there was some controversy in that race. Actually, Marv Marzufka, another well-known name from the past, right, raced and won often at the fairgrounds. He was not given the checkered flag initially at that event. There were 2 others, actually, Rich Summers being one, and Billy Oss, a Minnesota driver, that were given, well, it was thought to be first and second position. And, of course, Marv was saying, no way, you know, I won this race. And it was a little while later that it was determined that he did. And that was his only win. And that's what the footage is here. Actually, this was 1973. And again, the event just kept growing. For the most part, it went from a one-day event to 2, and now I guess, well, here a number of years later, it's up to 4. Right. So it's just every year, I think it's produced more excitement. And
if you notice the footage here, there's an outside retaining wall now. Did they build this wall in between 72 and 73?
Well, it's a little bit subtle, I guess, when you watch some of this footage as to the changes that did take place. I mean, it started in 1957 on the dirt as just a fence around it, right, little or no barrier. So, yeah, I believe that it did evolve to where they put walls in. I think they still had guardrail on the inside. Of course, that changed later on, too. But, yes, that was one of the changes that took place.
Some of the other names we're looking at: Dick Trickle, 2-time winner; Eddie Hoffman, 3-time winner; Danny Fredrickson, 3-time winner, won it last year, and of course he's going to come out with a bullseye in his back as well. And I want to throw in real quickly here, if you look at those names of some of the Dick Trickles and the Saunders that we've talked about, I do want to mention real quickly that we have a Champions Reunion which is held during Oktoberfest. And now, out of all this footage we see here, and you've done such a fantastic job of compiling these, a lot of these guys that were racing back then are anticipated to show up at La Crosse, whether they're just watching the races, as you see a nice spin out right there, or they're at the reunion.
Yes, as a matter of fact, this is the 3rd year that we've put on what we call Champions Reunion, and it is open to any drivers that are past champions in any series, any division of racing, any racetrack, excuse me, any racetrack. And basically, if they haven't raced for 3 years, they can come to this reunion, and we'll just have some fun. Basically, we'll feed them, and there'll be some drink there, and we'll recognize them in some way, who they are, and have some fun.
Do you ever see, like, out of the footage we're seeing here, you might see an accident or a race win that you hear the drivers go, you remember back in 1975 when so-and-so, I mean, we're watching the footage of maybe some of the stories that they're going to be talking about.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, amazingly, some of these guys, yeah, they don't have short memories when it comes to those kind of things. They will bring it up.
And, of course, the fans are invited to come over and listen to these stories, correct?
Yes. If you have a wristband for any of the days of the weekend, and especially Sunday, if you have a Sunday band, grandstand admission, you will be allowed to come in and mix and mingle with these guys.
And
take a picture. Yes, we encourage it. Now, that's what we want.
If you look at the footage here, I'm noticing a lot of Camaro type bodies. Was that starting to be as Oktoberfest races were coming along, was that starting to be one of the hotter cars, the Camaros and you know, like the Firebirds and whatnot?
Well, actually, what transpired in 1972 was the downsizing of the cars. The wheelbase went from 112 or even longer to 108 inch. And that's why you see Camaros, Mustangs, they went to a narrower tire. Racing evolved to where it actually had to take a step backwards from the big steamroller tires and cars that were getting more difficult to find. So this is what they did. They went with more up-to-date body styles.
Streamlined, looking body style.
Aerodynamics was beginning to play a big part in it, and that's why you saw those types of cars out there.
Who had the advantage? So let's kind of break it down, car and motor-wise. Who had the advantage in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today?
In terms of driver, in terms of manufacturer?
In terms of manufacturer.
Oh, I think...
Or was there an advantage? Did anybody want to have that car because they knew it was going to be fast enough and more aerodynamic to win the race?
I think when the cars were still full-sized, Ford was probably the powerhouse. Dick Trickle, of course, winning many races.
Right.
As it got into the mid-70s, GM products, they just seemed to have an engine that worked well, would last, and I think that would probably have to be considered the choice of many then. And, you know, to this day, I guess that's still probably pretty popular, although body styles have changed a little bit. You've got some other manufacturers, but I would have to say that was probably the most prolific winner when it came to the racing then.
All right, we need to take one more break here in Seven Rivers Racing. We've got a lot more to come right here. I think Dale's got some slides we're going to be putting up as well of some past winners. We're talking everybody from Jay Sauter to Matt Kenseth. Look at the time gap there and the champions that somebody here in a couple of days is going to be joining a long list of historic drivers here in Western Wisconsin. From Starmaker Multimedia, Dale Danielski joining us on the program today, along with Al Losi, myself, Dan Dyker. One more break and a big segment coming up as we help kick off the 42nd Annual Oktoberfest Race Weekend on KQEG TV.